Was there an ancient, advanced civilization before us? Peer-reviewed evidence. I've mentioned it many times. I feel very sus about every statistic, but I think it's very, left-leaning biased. But I don't see how this would be very politically biased. But if there actually existed something more advanced than we are right now, we should have known by now, I guess. But let's hear what this video has to say.
Was there an advanced civilization before us? Millions believe one existed during the last ice age, and that a cataclysm erased every trace. But I spent weeks going through the actual peer-reviewed evidence to find out the truth. Let's find out how long it takes to erase a civilization. For decades, the academic consensus was straightforward. Human culture slowly evolved in complexity, inventing agriculture, then civilization, only around 5,000 years ago. But then something strange emerged from the archaeological record. Agriculture didn't develop in one place and spread from there. It was independently invented in...
It developed separately in like Latin America, North America, and Asia, and so on, right? It's not the same. Also, I've heard of interesting stuff. This might not be true again. Like I'm very sus of everything that I hear from history, but I love this shit, especially ancient history. I love this, and I've heard that we've become less physically capable and a bit unhealthier when we went from hunter-gatherers to basically living off of the land and farming, because of, well, the quality of food we used to eat. When it came to farming, and most of our food came from like wheat and stuff, right? Most of that food isn't actually as quality and as good as actually eating red meat and hunting from like animals, right? Fucking vegans are gonna disagree with me, but I might be wrong. I don't know.
Separate regions,
I eat red meat.
All after the Ice Age ended. That's a remarkable coincidence. Author Grant Hancock has an explanation. 12,000 years ago, there was an advanced civilization that was wiped out by the catastrophic end of the last Ice Age. Survivors scattered across the world and seeded new cultures, which is why civilizations seem to appear everywhere at once. And honestly, the idea isn't crazy on its face. We know that the end of the last ice age was brutal. Temperatures swung violently during the Younger Dryas, and when it ended, sea levels rose by hundreds of feet, swallowing coastlines whole. So when skeptics ask, where's the evidence? Hancock and his supporters have an answer ready. The Earth ate it. The rising sea levels covered up coastal settlements while comet impacts caused global destruction. Villages were abandoned while advanced technology slowly corroded into dust. Randall Carlson, another prominent proponent, said,
"Is this one of the many things that the government is like hiding from us? Like, if this is actually true and there was something very insanely way more advanced than us, which I doubt, but imagine there was, and imagine like the government, we already know, especially the US government, but all of the governments in, most of the more developed countries, they probably have way more information about their specific environment and, the stuff the scientists have found, like now alien files or stuff related to, Epstein and shit, which is more of modern human stuff. I'm talking about ancient, interesting stuff that they just for some reason don't want to show us.
That if
Wouldn't
a
be
cataclysm
surprised.
happened to our society, after 10,000 years, only Mount Rushmore and the pyramids would be left. And if that's true for us, there would be nothing left of a civilization that thrived all the way back during the Ice Age.
That's
But would
insane.
everything in our society really turn to dust in only 10,000 years? Luckily for us, a random 1980 study from the US Department of Energy answered just that. They set out to find the best materials to make nuclear waste containers that would last for thousands of years. And the results are catastrophic for Carlson's argument. First, let's look at steel, a material that corrodes quickly. Steel corrodes at a maximum of 4.8 inches every 10,000 years, meaning that a steel axe would almost certainly turn to dust in way less than 10,000 years. But larger objects such as a solid anvil or engine block might still be around. And remember, 4.8 inches is the maximum corrosion rate. The minimum rate is only 0.73 inches after 10,000 years, so an anvil or an engine block would likely survive, especially if buried. Everyone knows that steel corrodes quickly, but what about copper? At a maximum, copper corrodes 0.54 inches every 10,000 years, meaning that if this copper axe blade sat exposed for 10,000 years, this is what it would look like. But if it was buried, it would take 29,000 years to corrode just half an inch. And this is confirmed by the archaeological record. Copper artifacts have been found dating back to well over 8,500 years ago, many still in great condition. If an advanced civilization with metal technology existed at the end of the last ice age, we would without a doubt find evidence. But we don't.
Interesting.
What about
I've
gold?
actually never thought of this when it comes, and I did study a lot of chemistry when I was like in college, organic chemistry and all of this. Never really thought of this.
How would this gold coin look in 10,000 or 100,000 years? Well, just like
The
this.
same.
Pure
Yeah.
gold does not corrode whatsoever. If this supposed civilization ever made a gold ring, coin, or bar, we would be able to find one. But the oldest gold artifacts are only about 6,000 years old. But
Yeah,
what if
this is what. Okay, this is what makes me skeptical. So you're telling me a very advanced civilization wouldn't have anything from gold, or are you telling me that, well, they didn't really like find gold? Or no, I choose not to believe that. If an ancient civilization that used a lot of steel, whatever, right, existed, and now the steel has basically not evaporated, like it's just. Doesn't exist anymore because of all of those thousands of years. They would have probably had something with gold. There's no way they wouldn't. There's no way, and that's in my opinion, no way.
civilization had existed way before us, like 300,000 or over a million years ago? We
Yeah,
actually have millions
humans
of
have existed for like 2 million years, right? That's as far as I know. And Homo sapiens have existed for like
artifacts
200,000
from this
years.
time period. Archaeologists have found stone tools dating back well over 3 million years ago. There are literal fields of ancient hand axes made by other human species in Africa
So
that
cool.
are still sharp.
I wish I had a time machine to go back and just look at like animals and humans, or even before humans. I fucking wish.
This very hand axe was actually collected by a friend of mine in South Africa. In all likelihood, it is the handiwork of another human species. It's really insane when you think about it. Stone tools last virtually forever, and so does glass. If a civilization ever made a glass cup or a window, we could find evidence. But ceramics are a different story. Believe it or not, there is evidence of ceramics dating back to 30,000 years ago. At the site of Dolne Vestinice in Czechia, archaeologists have discovered small ceramic figurines that were superheated in
Rhino?
furnaces. They are associated
Cool.
with the Gravettian culture, a people that made stone tools, lived in temporary huts, and hunted megafauna. And if some random figurines made by Stone Age hunters can survive 30,000 years, so could evidence of an advanced civilization. But that's just
Okay.
not the case. Ceramic technology was never used for anything useful by the Gravettians, and they eventually abandoned the practice.
Who is this useful for? It's still not useful today. Like I'm speaking about daily life. Maybe if it's an art piece that's very expensive and you can invest into it, but you no, that was never useful. Now this
It
pottery
would take
is that.
thousands of years for humans to rediscover ceramics first in China and gradually throughout the rest of the world. And none of this evidence suggests the existence of a civilization. What's more is that Randall's argument completely falls apart when we look at other forms of evidence. We have dozens of entire perfectly preserved Ice Age animals that have remained frozen for over 30,000 years. These spears right here have survived 300,000 years in a German lake bed because they were in a low oxygen environment. The Earth ate it argument collapses under scrutiny, and honestly it is the main reason I don't believe the ancient civilization narrative.
Yep.
I have personally found copper artifacts dating back over 5,000 years from the old copper culture of North America. Furthermore, the lead pollution from the old copper culture is detectable in lake sediment cores, and elsewhere where ice cores have proven that there is no evidence of metallurgy during the last glacial period. If there was a lost civilization, it wasn't using metal or creating anything on par with even Bronze Age societies. We would find not only their gold, copper, ceramics, but also the
Exactly.
stone for their houses. Civilizations are inherently messy. They have trash heaps, abandoned buildings, graves, roads, and we can't point to any of that before they
Also, an advanced civilization would probably most likely build, huge buildings, like to some degree at least, right? Like even small settlements. We found so many of them, especially here in Europe, right? Like it's the tiniest freaking settlements where just like 100 people lived. We find stuff like this, right? This is why I don't trust this. Like, are you telling me like this is me having fun and fantasizing? Imagine there was a very advanced civilization. Something happened, right? Maybe even more advanced than us. And even more advanced alien civilization species came to Earth, some reason destroyed or something on accident happened or with illnesses and stuff, but they would be smart enough to not do this to humans. Or maybe they weren't humans. Maybe they were something else. Again, this is me fantasizing and having fun. Okay, I like to have fun, and I made this channel for having fun and fantasizing. So maybe an outsider came and destroyed and removed all evidence and stuff, and now we have nothing to like base this claim off of. You know, most likely. That more advanced civilization didn't fucking exist. Just that's most likely. There's way more likely that there's aliens around us right now. I would believe in that way more.
The Ice Age. But what about Göbekli Tepe? At 12,000 years
I've heard
old,
of this.
surely it is proof of a civilization in the Ice Age. It is a legitimately massive complex full of giant stone slabs and symbolism.
Yep.
The culture that made this had to organize large workforces, and clearly they were culturally complex. But does this really count as a civilization? A civilization is defined as a human
for those times, yeah,
society with urban settlements, division of labor, centralized government, surplus food, and some kind of record-keeping or writing system. Based on this criteria, archaeologists generally don't consider Göbekli Tepe a civilization, but rather a pre-agricultural monumental complex. No evidence of agriculture has been found at the site, nor has pottery or writing been found. Evidence suggests that it was not a urban settlement, but rather a gathering place made by hunter-gatherers. But to truly understand the site, we need to understand
that's still impressive. What I imagine hunter-gatherers, this is not what they imagined them doing, okay? So this is impressive if that's true.
Where it came from. Göbekli Tepe is not the only structure of its kind.
I love
Thousands of years
exploring
before
stuff like
Göbekli
this.
Tepe, the Natufian culture first
And most of them are in that freaking region. Where there's never peace. Oh, God.
making permanent stone structures
I
in
feel
the
bad
region.
for people there.
They hunted gazelle and harvested mass quantities of wild grains which they ground into bread. These grains were harvested in abundance and even stored for lean times. This allowed them to spend more time working on their structures and technology. They started making communal structures, and gradually, larger and larger stones were quarried and carved with complex symbols. Eventually, after 3,000 years of development, 6 times longer than the Roman Empire, these skills culminated into larger structures like Karahan Tepe and Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe didn't appear out of nowhere, and we know a ton about the people who made it. But what about other ancient structures that may predate Göbekli Tepe by thousands of years? Many often point to the Eye of the Sahara, a 25-mile wide megastructure in the middle of nowhere. It is known as the Reshat structure, and it is often claimed to be proof of the lost city of Atlantis. The concentric rings certainly make it look like Plato's.
Look at the opposite side of the planet from this structure. Is there some kind of an impact? Or if it's in the ocean, I guess that's going to be harder to research, but what if it was just some kind of a huge impact from some kind of a meteor? But I guess they would be able to track that because of remnants. But what if it was on the other side of the planet and it left a mark on the other side? I'm not a scientist. This might be very dumb what I just said, but hey, it's possible.
Description. But again, what does the evidence say? In the 1950s, it was initially hypothesized to have been an impact crater from a meteor.
I didn't pre-watch this. I'm serious. I did not pre-watch this.
Recent studies in the early 2000s found that it was a deeply eroded underground magmatic intrusion. At approximately 100 million years old, it formed during the age of the dinosaurs. But since then, humans have indeed frequented this structure for over 1 million years. The outer ring actually has deposits of quartzite, a hard and sharp material great for making stone tools. Hundreds of ancient hand axes from species like Homo erectus have been found. Later, our own species moved in and around the structure and lived there for thousands of years, especially during the African humid period when the region was lush. They left behind stone tools, burials, and fossils that have been radiocarbon dated to 10 to 15,000 years ago in the structure. The only evidence of permanent buildings are small and are still used to this day by nomadic groups which live in and around the structure. The Reshat structure holds an unbroken record of human activity spanning over 1 million years. Not one moment of it looks like a civilization. If it was once a city the size of Paris,
no way.
surely there would be some compelling
No
evidence
way.
to discuss. The Earth-aided argument is not going to cut it. But we still haven't answered the question. Why did humans suddenly start to farm in about 6 independent centers all around 10,000 years ago? It is a legitimately interesting question. Looking at the map of where these cultures appears make it seem like Graham may actually have a point. But the answer is simpler than you might think. Look at this graph. During the last glacial period, the climate was all over the place. The only thing constant was cold temperatures. But when this period ended roughly 12,000 years ago,
That's why most of the civilizations are on or near the equator, because it's warmer.
the Earth suddenly warmed. And more importantly, the climate stabilized. This made the environment much more predictable. Humans could finally rely on certain plants in certain locations year after year. This led to increased cultivation, dedicated crop fields, and eventually the plants themselves became domesticated, becoming easier to plant and producing more calories. The reason that this transition occurred in 6 different centers is because the entire world became warmer and more predictable. Human progress has exploded ever since. I'm not convinced that there is evidence for a lost civilization.
Same.
If you are, tell me in the
Also,
comments.
the fact that there's like so much, there's been so many ice ages and all of these different ages and stuff, right? Periods, which the periods we classify are different than the actual natural ages that, differentiate or are in different waves throughout Earth's history. Are we actually ready for like the next ice age or hot age or whatever age it is? And also all the time I fantasize and think about, tectonic plates and the way they're moving and shit that's happening. Humanity, there's no way humanity will exist for like, in my opinion, I might be wrong, for like thousands of years, like 10,000 years from now. If we do, we're so advanced and we are on other planets. But if we are still on this planet, insane climate shifts, continental shifts, and all of this stuff. No country can by itself or civilization by itself exist forever. The human impact is a bigger, a thing. It'll change because of us humans and the stuff we do that's just very dumb. But I do think a lot when it comes to all of this. This has nothing to do with the actual topic of the video. I just found it interesting to mention it. But yeah, I I was pretty right when I guessed there's probably no way an advanced civilization before us actually existed. But I like to fantasize, I guess. Yeah, what can I say? North, is that D? Oh, that's a 0. North 02. So North 02. It's probably like for oxygen, most likely. Go and subscribe. Interesting freaking channel. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. And have a nice day. And subscribe, please freaking subscribe. I just made this channel.